And indeed, we have Fiestas back out on the circuit for the second race of the weekend and of the season for the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. It is the AIRTEC Motorsport Snetterton season opener, and of course it's fitting that we have one of the championships, of course, being sponsored by AIRTEC on the bill as well, of course, to support as well with the BRSC Fiesta Junior Championship. This is the bigger brethren of the same generation Mark 7 Fiestas. This is starts as the ST180, but of course they have uprated engine ECUs and engine parts, so it brings the power up to, have a guess, that's right, 240 brake horsepower, hence being called ST240s. So after yesterday's race, setting the grid for race 2, it's Graham Colfer with the first ST240 win that puts him on pole alongside defending champion AIRTEC Kellett. That's Gary Miller in his Dick Johnson Racing Shell-inspired livery in P3, alongside Jack Sant, who had a great start from the front row of the grid, and in his first race, senior race from juniors, up there in P4 on the grid after finishing 4th yesterday. Fellow graduates from Fiesta Juniors, George Foxo and Kasper Tobolewski, start 5th and 6th on the grid, followed by David Nye, former champion, and Maggie Webster, another Fiesta Junior graduate, starting P8. Then Sean Reynolds and Marco Ricci, her JRW teammates, are back alongside on the 5th row, as is also James Pope with JRW, another Fiesta Junior driver from a couple of years ago. There's Harry Hayes and Simon Waugh, John Cooper, who had his door come out early in the race after, we think, some contact on the pit straight at the start of race 1 yesterday. But he starts 14th with a point to prove, as will also be Matt Chambers. Then the 3 cars didn't finish yesterday were Luke Waugh, Brady Pollock, who was in his first weekend in Fiestas out of racing a couple of years in City Car Cup, so pretty much more than double the power and a turbo on these cars, and slicks compared to the City Car that he was used to a couple of seasons. And Simon Horrobin, veteran of the championship, didn't quite have the best of luck yesterday, and he had contact with Luke Waugh up at the Wilson hairpin. Because of that, he will start back in 18th on the grid. So if we're all being well, we should have all 18 Fiestas ready to go and race. And I think we do. Only thing I think I'm seeing is that we've got Simon Horrobin, and I also do see Luke Waugh, but he's, for some reason, Simon Horrobin is ahead of Luke Waugh, and also we are missing Brady Pollock, who retired from yesterday's race as well. So why Luke Waugh is ahead of Simon Horrobin, as we can see another grid, there's been a switch around for some reason, but which is what going off our results from yesterday. But we'll figure that one out in a moment. Yeah, Simon Horrobin is starting ahead of Luke Waugh. And he's been moved to the back because of a back of the grid penalty for a race penalty from yesterday. That's the reason why. There we go. Cleared that one up. Brilliant. Thank you for finding that one, John. And as we said, no Brady Pollock. Obviously, should be there if he's a little further up the order. It's the black and red machine somewhere. You can also see that John Cooper's car has had a new door fitted to it. And I can see Brady Pollock as well. I think it's a bit further up the field as well, if I'm correct. There goes John Cooper. Is that Brady Pollock behind? Yes, I think it is. So we'll look out for him. So, yesterday was pretty much an Irish domination yesterday. We had Irish drivers first, second and third. Graham Colfer with his first Fiesta ST240 win. AIRTEC Kellett, of course, taking a second place from starting on pole. And Graham Miller's always been quick in the last couple of seasons with that new livery, looking pretty strong. Should also remind you there are 3 of AIRTEC Kellett's current and former cars on the grid. It's his 2026 car that he races from the front row of the grid. The second row features his 2025 car from last year that he won the title in the hands of Jack Sant. And to further confuse things, George Foxo in his 2024 machine is also on the grid as well. So you've got 3 of those cars in there. If they all finish on the podium, it'll be almost a technical celebration for all 3. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. There's Pro and Am classes to watch out for, and plenty of action to come up as well. So, lights are up for the second AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship race of the weekend and the season here at Snetterton. We are lights out and away we go. And again, from the outside the front row of the grid, where the cleanest part of the track is, it's a decent start for AIRTEC Kellett. He goes level with Colfer on the sprint down towards Ritchie's, almost touching wing mirrors, but he slots in behind his fellow Irishman and also in front of Miller. Jack Sant looks to the outside for third. There's also side-by-side between Tobolewski and the pink and white machine of Maggie Webster. John Cooper's made a quick start in these now black-doored number 88 Fiesta, down towards Wilson for the first time under brakes. David Nice made a clean start also with the sort of dark blue Ford-coloured Fiesta with the pink stripe on the nose. That's currently up into the top 5 already. And everyone appears to, touch wood, got through the first couple of corners pretty much unscathed into Palmas for the first time. As we anticipated, John, it is the Irish drivers now currently first, second and third. So they might be from the Emerald Isle, but they're dominating here on UK shores right now, particularly with Kellett with the number 1. In towards Agostini hairpin is an Irish 1-2-3, with the rest of the pack headed by young gun Jack Sant.
Indeed, a good start this time from AIRTEC Kellett. He dropped back into the pack ever so slightly yesterday, but this time holds firm there in second place, and he's set himself up well for the rest of the race. Crucial part now is not allowing for Graham Colfer to escape at the sharp end. Race win for him yesterday, not by a massive margin though. to Alistair Kellett. Just less than 0.2 of a second it was between Colfer and Kellett across the line yesterday. And this time we've got a couple more drivers going with them as well. Gary Miller and Jack Sant now breaking away at the sharp end with them. We're side by side there through the right onto the back straight. The 12 and the 47 there going side by side. That is James Pope on the 47 and the 12 of Brady Pollock. So Pollock with a good start then, moving his way up and through the order and looking to make another place as they head down the back straight. Drivers going side by side. That'll be Tomaszewski there, just pulling back ahead and retaking 6th place then as they continue to scamper on. Well, one driver scampering off there, Pollock again, and it is Pollock. Well, we saw him making moves. There you go. There's my commentator's curse that they kicked off. Apologies there to the driver of the number 12. But either way, Brady Pollock rejoins the action, which is good to see. But he's got a bit of time to catch up now, courtesy of that off-track excursion.
It's a fishy one, or you owe me 50 quid. Right. Not really. Anyway, back to the end of lap number 1. We have fun in this commentary box. Right, end of lap 1 in the Fiesta ST240s. Colfer and Kellett nose to tail. And now with Miller in 3rd place, Sant in 4th, and it's Nye, Tomaszewski. Cooper up to 7th. He started what was back in 14th place on the grid, up 7 spots already. He's one of the biggest movers in the field. Horrobin's also moved up pretty decently for the back of the field, up 5 spots to 12, and Wars up to 13th from 18th on the grid. But Cooper is the biggest mover. The driver with the biggest loss, it is equally Marco Ricci from 10th to 15th, and Harry Hayes from 12th down to 17th. And then outside the top 6, you have Cooper 7th, Foxo down to 8th. So Foxo started in 5th. He's lost 3 spots from where he started. Maggie Webster 9th and James Pope in 10th. So quite a few of the Fiesta Junior drivers are from 4th downwards. There is Jack Sant, doing quite well in last year's title-winning Fiesta, driven by Alistair Kellett, who's now in this year's car in 2nd position. You can see his car's got new sponsorship on the side from, I think that says Smart Parts, so good to see some new sponsorship, and of course a similarly coloured Fiesta. So they're not teammates, they are just simply running a very similar same car. Jack Sam, his car sponsor will run by at least Blitz MOT, whereas Kellett Motorsport, of course, Kellett's own team, runs his car and I think a couple of others, just at least him, so he's only one car he runs in this championship. But he has run more than one before. He's run Barry John McHenry, who is doing a park campaign in TCR UK, if I'm correct, in an Audi, if I'm correct in saying so. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments, who's much more knowledgeable on TCR UK than I am currently right now. Out of Williams onto the Bentley straight for the 2nd time. With Foxo trying to make moves, he's been passed off the start by John Cooper, and he's going to move across, and Cooper's going to be wary because last time he tried to move across on somebody to defend a position, that was back at Alton Park, and let's not remind you what happened there. You can go back and watch the live stream if you really want to go and see what happened from that far back, if you really want to. Irish 1, 2, 3, as they are now stacked up so close you can throw a blanket over them. Then Sant in 4th, Tomaszewski 5th, so the juniors are running well, up in 4th and 5th. And Tomaszewski started lap in P6, so he's past David Nye, who's much more experienced than Tomaszewski is in his first weekend of senior racing, as is Jack Sant. More shuffling around as the recovering Brady Pollock, who's now to try and rebound all the way through the field after he went off the road and went out of the race late in race 1 yesterday. So they're back up the order after his mistake at Brundle and Nelson a lap ago. And that battle going on there is between 2 of the JRW teammates, run by Jamie White, former Fiesta champion himself multiple times. Of course, runs a good squirrel, and there's Brady Pollock's car bouncing around under brakes. And you absolutely cements the fact that that is probably the most difficult corner in British motorsport, because particularly in a Fiesta that's going to be stiffly sprung and on slick tyres, trying to stop while the car's hopping around like a rabbit, that's not exactly what you want to do.
Indeed, but he managed to get it stopped, fair play, and that's more positions gained as he tries to fight his way back through the order, does Brady Pollock, and already looking to size up some more moves of the drivers behind. Yeah, sadly it was Harry Hayes losing a couple of more places, sadly for Harry, just settling back into the rhythm now and joining back up to the back of this pack once more. Yeah, as you said, Foxlow did get back through on Cooper. Nye followed through as well, so John Cooper's back down to 8th then. It was a great first lap of the race for John Cooper. I think he's going to have to use a black door for the rest of the season. The lucky black door there on lap number 1 saw him scythe up through the order. But yeah, it was good to chat with John when he returned after, of course, that big crash at Alton Park. When he returned, he was on the podium at the first race weekend that he returned at, and I had a chat with him after the race. I said, oh, does that kind of accident knock your confidence at all? And he just went, no. And that was it. That was it from John. Thanks for the insight, John. But John certainly not worried at all, and has proven there on the first lap, scything his way through the order. He's a very experienced, a very accomplished driver, particularly in these kind of cars, is John Cooper. And again, having a good race in this one, but dropping back into that secondary pack now, continuing to battle there, you see, with Foxlow and Nye over 6th place. Tomaszewski now closing up back to the rear bumper of Jack Sant, as here might be the move for the lead. Kellett pulls out of the slipstream, not quite close enough to think about a move on Graham Colfer just yet, but also don't count out Gary Miller, still waiting in the wings there in third place. And really, if these three start chopping and changing position, Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski will be straight on the scene. And then it's only a couple of seconds then back to this group. Foxlow, Nye, Cooper, and now Maggie Webster getting involved as well. She's having a good race in this one at the moment, holding on to the coattails of John Cooper ahead. But here can continue your race leaders then down through Murray's once more. And it's a slightly better exit for Kellett. Not so great for Gary Miller though. So maybe this is the opportunity for Kellett to get through and not have Gary Miller joining the party as well. They'll continue on. Line astern then up the front straight. And hey, Kellett might just make what I've said true. Can't quite though. Doesn't quite pull alongside, and Graham Colfer holds the lead.
And that the new fastest lap of the race changed hands 4 times. It went, I think, to Colfer, then to Miller, then to Sant, then to Tomaszewski. 2 minute 10.507 for Kasper, who's fresh out of Fiesta Juniors. I politely say this, didn't have the highest of results at times because he was in his first proper season of car racing, but he's now into seniors, of course, and taking to these ST240s like the proverbial duck to water. He really is getting into it, and that can be the case sometimes. When you find a car like the Fiesta Junior car, which doesn't have as much power, is on the mandatory treaded tyres, the junior tyre that you have to run on top of that as well, that's supplied by Goodyear. Sometimes some drivers take to it quicker than others, whereas likes of Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski, you've got double the power, you've also got slick tyres, you've got slightly more stiffly sprung cars, but it's so stiff that you can see them three-wheeling and wheel hiking their way through the corners as they go through, and almost hopping around under brakes at how stiffly sprung they are. And it's interesting to watch that happen, and the fact that the young drivers like Jack and also Kasper Tomaszewski, and George was also someone who was decent in Fiesta Juniors, but there's ways to start to find his feet now on maybe on grippier tyres or simply just on a higher level in the senior ranks. He's been able to just take to these cars much better, and they're up there towards the front, showing pretty well. That just shows the talent they've got, but maybe the junior spec car for them wasn't the fastest car for them in terms of their driving style, but these ST240s with more grip, more power, it suits the best to be able to put the pad down the road, to use the turbo and to use the straight line speed they have and the grip from the slick tyres to really maximise their potential. So both Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski, both drivers in the top 5, particularly both are making their first senior starts ahead of George Foxlow, of course, who was also a front runner and also a podium finisher as well in the champion last year, and more experienced drivers. Good effort from both. I'm impressed.
Indeed, they've been very impressive, haven't they, all weekend so far, particularly in this one. Sant and Tomaszewski moving forward well and continuing to just stay within a couple of seconds of that leading battle. It's been interesting to watch the pendulum swinging back and forward in terms of momentum amongst those top 3. At the start of that previous lap, Kellett all over the back of Colfer thinking about moves, but then lost a bit of time through the rest of the lap, and suddenly Gary Miller was back involved looking for moves as well. Those two just continued on, Colfer and Kellett battling down into T1, but there's battles throughout the field. It's got to be the 5th or 6th time I've said that this weekend, but it's awesome to see in these classes. Battles galore, makes it more exciting for us to enjoy on the live stream. Here is Luke Ward looking to make a move, and he will get it. Past Reynolds he goes in the 777, and that's Luke War almost up into the top 10. It's 11th there for War, but as you can see there up ahead, 10th. It's a little bit of a distance away, a good few seconds, almost 4.5 seconds now for War to catch up with the top 10. And I think with how these cars race, it's more going to be a battle for 11th here between these 3 or 4 drivers that they continue to press on. But we do still have just over 10 minutes left of this race, so not even at half race distance then. Plenty of time for things to change, but continuing on, the top 3 really close together, and I will say Sant and Tomaszewski have closed that gap a little bit more as well. I don't think it's going to be too long until we have the top 5 all in a train here in a battle for the race win. Let's see. Well, the 777 now, he's been passed by Luke Wart, and he's now under a bit of pressure from the number 12. Of course, Brady Pollock looking to make up time that he lost earlier in the race. Here are the top 3 then, onto the back straight they go.
Jack Sant sets the new fastest lap of the race again, 2:10.450, trying to close the gap, and he's bringing Tomaszewski with him, so it could be possibly a 5-car battle here. This is the Irish trio versus the pair of junior graduates, which could be quite an interesting 5-way scrap if they get involved. In towards Bruns and Nelson. Colfer still leading. Of course, Colfer, I say was and is an AM driver in the AM class. There are 2 classes in here, Pro and AM. And it is actually AM drivers in 4 of which in the top 5. No, 3 in the top 5 because Kellett Miller are the pros. The AM drivers certainly showing quite a lot of pace. And usually the AM drivers are newer drivers, or what you call more the... I don't like using the word amateur. I think it's almost like a bit disrespectful to quick drivers who are classified as non-pros. I like to call them enthusiasts because they like going racing, enjoy it for the fun of it. And if they're quick, that's a much more polite term, I think, rather than just saying they're amateur. It sounds a bit sort of harsh and a bit sort of like final, saying that they're not implies they're not skilled, which is there definitely are some very good, in quotation marks, AM drivers. But the pro drivers are more the quickest drivers in the field, and also ones that are likely to go for the championship. But Graham Colfer, I mean, if he puts in this kind of performance, do we even dare say that for the first time ever we could have an AM-class driver contending for the overall championship? Because how it works in this championship is that, yes, there are 2 classes, but you don't score points within your class. You score points based on where you finish overall in the race. So, for example, if Graham Colfer wins, he's taken the maximum 50 points plus any bonus points for fastest lap or even for pole position, which you can get in this championship. And that will mean that where he scores is good well. Whereas before, if the pros were usually the quick drivers, but if you have an AM driver finishing in 7th place, yes, they would win the AM class, but they would score the points of being 7th overall. So there's no separate points scoring for classes. It's all based on where you place overall in the final result. So if Colfer stays where he is, like he did yesterday, he'll gain another 50 points on top of the 50 he scored yesterday for winning the race outright. So that's quite crucial, particularly when you've got, in particular, of course, when you've got the pro class drivers here, when you've got Kellett and Miller being up towards the front, but the AM class drivers are technically stealing points away from the pro drivers, who are perceptively should be quicker than them, but in actual fact are proven to be quite well skilled, particularly Sant and Tomaszewski in their first seasons of racing. But you can understand why, because they're straight out of it. So if they go straight to pros, there's no guarantee they'll be right towards the pace. But now they're actually in the front. It's looking pretty strong, I think. So I think both Sant and Tomaszewski are putting a good case here to be good AM-class contenders, along with Colfer, of course, who's had a season's worth of racing on and off in 2025 as well.
Yeah, indeed. All 3 of them looking very impressive here, as still Alistair Kellett struggles to find a way through on Graham Colfer. Could this be it? Round the outside they go, down through Brundle, has the inside for Nelson, and the race lead for Alistair Kellett. It's been a few laps in the making, that move, hasn't it? He was trying it previously down into the first corner of Richards, couldn't quite get the run. Well, this time out of Williams, gets a slightly better run than Colfer, and into the race lead he goes. So potentially then the next 7 minutes it's gloves off between these drivers at the sharp end, and Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski have just been working hard over the last couple of laps, keeping them in with a shout of this leading battle, and they are very much there to get amongst it as well. We saw as well in the background the battle for 6th. John Cooper's back through on George Foxlow, so that's a change for P6, and they're only a few seconds off this leading battle as well. Don't count them out with only a few minutes left to go. And also, how you were highlighting the pro and the AM drivers as well, there's also a Masters class here in the ST240s. Only driver in the top 5 at the moment is Alistair Kellett in the Masters. He's your leading Master. John Cooper 2nd in the Masters at the moment, and David Knight 3rd in the Masters, 8th place overall for now. Well, Kellett overshoots ever so slightly there down into Wilson. It's not going to hamper his exit speed though. He pulls out ahead once more, but we are nose to tail here. Kellett, Colfer, Miller, and then Sant and Tomaszewski joining the party as well. This is surely going to start to kick off in the next few moments, Scott.
You'd hope so, given it's been such. They've been one of the stars of the show this weekend, the Fiesta ST240. So I really enjoyed the first race yesterday, and the second one's going pretty well as Miller up to his old antics again. He usually gets to he likes to get in there and make his point in terms of, I am coming through, give me the room, otherwise you might have to deal with what happens next. Not implying, of course, he's a bad driver at all. He isn't. Of course, he was runner-up in the championship last year and picked up several races to justify that, of course. But he is someone who kind of makes his point to make an overtake. If he's going for it, he will go and commit to it, and it's almost like a Senna style. He goes for the move and decides to let you decide if something happens or not. So, but that's just his driving style, and of course it's worked for him, and he's definitely come on leaps and bounds. When I first saw him in the championship, as he thumps the curve exiting Williams' corner onto the Bentley straight, which might kill his momentum into the clutches of both Sant and Tomaszewski, as it is now a 5-car group for the lead. Miller was sort of getting up there and doing okay, but he found some real good pace in the second half of 2024, then became a title contender from the offset in last year, and it's become one of those drivers that's just gotten quicker and quicker as he's got more experience and more used to the UK circuit. So good to see that Gary's continuing that pace from this year. Colfer was another one where he had a couple of moments where he was decent last year, but found something over the winter, which has really helped him out. So good to see he's doing pretty well. There's Maggie Webster, who's the sister of former ST240 champion Albert Webster, who's racing, I think, in Ipswich, if I'm correct, in some short oval racing this weekend. I think, if I'm correct, I have to look at his social media to confirm that. He's doing some racing this weekend on some sort of short oval format, so best of luck to him. And, of course, Maggie, of course, in the rather potent white and pink machine, running hard in 9th place, part of the JRW squad. And Maggie was also out last weekend at ST150 in the Vinyl Detail ST150 Challenge. Did a decent job as well to get herself some pre-season running. Black and white flag has gone out for car 22, which is Luke Waugh. The 22 is Simon Waugh, and that's for track limits, so being careful. Miller's up to, I thought Miller was up to 2nd there for a second. He's not. He's, in fact, no, Kellett's got past Colfer anyway, so Colfer's now defending from Miller for 2nd place. But Sant and Tomaszewski have now reeled them both in because they've been battling so hard. So with 4 minutes to go, the five-way dance for the lead continues to go on. But Kellett now's got some clear air now, it seems, John. And again, a phrase we said so many times as Cooper gets very sideways on the exit. Huge tank slapper as he came out of Palmer. But it's a phrase I've said so many times, and I'll say it again. The harder these four fight each other, the easier it is for Kellett to make a break out in front with 3 3/4 minutes to go.
Yeah, Graham Colfer was a little bit slidey out of Murray's there at the end of that previous lap. Killed his momentum up the front straight. Miller wasn't able to do anything with it though. He was aggressive down through those first few corners of the circuit, but couldn't get the move done. You're mentioning Gary finding even more pace over Winter. Surely that brand new livery's got to be worth a few tenths at least for Gary Miller, and he's making it work for the moment, but still can't quite find a way through on Colfer. Nice battling between these two there, the 22 and the 60 still going at it. That is Simon Horobin and Luke Waugh battling away. Horobin drops back behind, position gained once again. Of course, no, it's not Luke Waugh, apologies. It is Simon Waugh that he's battling with, and Simon is able to make up the position there. Lovely battling between those two down through Agostini in the middle part of the circuit. Then we look back to the 777 and the 26 of Reynolds and Hayes as well. They continue to battle through this one. Well, leaders then, 2.5 minutes just over left to go. And as you were saying, that little moment for Colfer lost them a bit of time, and Kellett, perfect opportunity to scamper off ahead, and this will mean, if it stays like this, a win and a second place apiece for both Kellett and Colfer. They'll be down to race 3 later on this afternoon. Make sure you're sticking around for that. Here is the other Waugh, and it's Luke Waugh. This time his turn to attack as they head down through Coram once again. But Alistair Kellett starts lap number 9 of this race with the biggest leading margin so far, 1.2 seconds, and it's surely only going to grow if these two continue scrapping like that.
Yeah, that was Miller trying to get past Colfer to make a move for second place in towards Ritchie's on this 9th lap of the race with just over 2 minutes to go. So I think we're going to get, yeah, we'll get one more lap after this. They're on the penultimate lap of the race, considering they crossed the line at basically about 2 minutes 25 to go. My lap times are 2:10, so they're going to get one more time around the 300 circuit after this one. So 2 more chances for Miller to grab second place, 2 more chances for Colfer to defend it. And look at Jack Santa Claus up there in third place, in fourth, or challenging for third. And that not so successful attempt from Miller, as he goes almost very deep into the corner to get right onto Colfer's back bumper again, hasn't really worked out. And Sant, you can see, of course, in last year's title-winning Fiesta, driven by Alistair Kellett and sold on to Jack to race this year, has got an opportunity to get a podium. He missed out yesterday. He took an excellent result in qualifying on yesterday morning, where he could put the car on the front row of the grid and didn't quite get to the point where he was able to be there. I can't remember if he actually took the lead yesterday at one point. He might well have done briefly, but it was then Kellett managed to get back past, and then he sort of slipped backwards a little further. Sant did also go off the road a couple of times, particularly one, I think, in the last lap of the race. He went off the road at the complex at Brundle Nelson and kind of ambled back on. I remember he was right here. He came back into the shot and just appeared stage left back on the road. I'm like, where's he come from? But in terms of where he's going, Alistair Kellett right now is looking to make it 2 from 2 as the defending title winner. And Miller's running very wide on the exit. He was right again, pressuring Colfer for second place. Slips back again into Sant's clutches. A quick check on where we are with the Pro and Am classes. Kellett leads the Pro class from Miller in second place. And John Cooper's currently third in that category, followed by George Foxlow and David Knight. There is Maggie Webster. She's currently on course for a top 5 in the Am class, because it is, at the moment, yeah, Colfer leading that Am class from Sant and Tomilewski. It's 4th, in fact, actually, for Webster, so it'll be 4th for her. And then Luke Waugh up into the top 5. But Luke actually has done a quite good job, considering he started back in 16th into 10th, and a top 10 finish overall will be very exciting as we go across the line to start the last lap of the race. About 10 seconds on the clock as we did. And as they go through Richie's corner, the timer ticks down to 0 now, so it will be officially the last lap of the race. We could be seeing here, John, a 3-way scrap. Here comes Miller looking to the inside, forcing Colfer to defend. He can only make one move to try and hold on to that place. As Kellett goes away in blissful ignorance, these four are going to go at it now for the final podium places on the last lap of the race. Yeah, sadly they've had to settle for second place, haven't they? That breakaway from Kellett, absolutely perfectly timed a few laps ago as they all squabbled in his rear-view mirror. He was like, cheers lads, I'm going to drive away with this one. That's exactly what he is doing then. Big lead, over 1.3 seconds now then as we head through the final lap. Well, Gary Miller was looking to attack a few moments ago on Graham Colfer, and now having to turn his attention to Jack Sant behind. As Sant looking feisty here as we head through the final lap, gets a nice exit off of Agostini. Always a difficult one to make a move here at Hamilton's, and it's not a good enough exit to put alongside of Gary Miller. Slots back into 4th, but Miller is a little bit wide there on the exit of Hamilton's. But again,
again. Gathers it up and presses on. They're in third place, so it is the battle for second then here. Can even Kasper Tomaszewski get stuck in with this one as we head through the final lap of proceedings here from race number 2 of the weekend in the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. Their next race scheduled for 4:55. Make sure you join us for that one as they cap off their weekend of 3 races here at Snetterton. But here comes Kellett leading us down the Bentley Straight once more. He's pretty much got one hand on the trophy here in race number 2, doesn't he? But of course, barring any issues here through the final corner, final few corners, he's a very experienced driver. I can't imagine he'll be making a mistake, but you just never know. Colfer versus Miller, battle continuing on though. Through the bomb hole they go, and down into Coram for the final time.
So let's see if Kellett can hold on to it. He should be able to. There's David Nye again, just hiking a wheel as he goes through, but looks to be pretty civil now on the run towards the final couple of corners. Colf won't be able to make it 2 from 2. Of course, he won yesterday, and so I forgot about that, but he did get the win yesterday. He'll have to settle for second best this time because usually it takes him a bit of time to wind up and actually get himself to the top step, but this time, not so much, because at the second time of asking this weekend, it is a victory for the defending champion, Alistair Kellett in P number 1, in car number 1. He takes the flag first, and his first win of the season already for the multiple champion. Graham Colfer wins the AM class and takes second place, and Gary Miller back on the podium in third. An impressive 4th and 5th positions for both Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski. John Cooper will be very pleased with that. He started back in 14th on the grid, takes the fastest lap of the race and P6 and the Pro Class podium on top of that. That's an excellent job for him. He could be one of the unsung heroes as well, given the fact he had a bit of a battle through the field. And then George Foxlow 7th, David Nye in 8th, Maggie Webster will take 9th, and that will be 4th in the AM class, but ahead of Luke Waugh. James Pope will come across just outside the top 10, 11th. Brady Pollock, who had that spin at the Brundle-Nelson complex, which, as you can see there in car 12, has come across the line in car 12 in P12, quite fittingly, nice synchronicity. And then it's Simon Waugh, who's worn for track limits, Harry Hayes, Simon Horriban, who's got a new sort of purple decals, some normal decals on the bonnet and on the roof, which weren't there yesterday, so that might be an idea to possibly figure out about that. Sean Reynolds, Marco Ricci and Matt Chambers will be the one to go through, and actually that's a positive thing to say. All 18 Fiestas started, all 18 Fiestas, all back home safe and sound. That's really good to see from the ST240s. There goes Matt Chambers, and to confirm the class winners, it is Kellett who wins the Pro Class from Miller, Cooper, Nye and Horriban in 5th position, and then it will be in the AM class Graham Colfer who wins from Gary Miller, from Jack Sant, Kasper Tomaszewski, then it will be Maggie Webster and Luke Waugh. So results from the second AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 race. Defending champion Alistair Kellett gets his first win of the season at the second attempt this weekend. He wins from Colfer by almost half a second, with Gary Miller 3rd. Then Jack Sant and Kasper Tomaszewski, 2 more impressive runs for the juniors, 4th and 5th. Cooper 6th from 14th on the grid, and a fixed door as well, and the fastest lap of the race, and that gives him a pro podium as well. Foxlow 7th from 9 8th, Webster 9th, and Luke Waugh in P10. And I would give you the rest of the order, but you get down from 13th onwards because it's been wiped off my screen because the rest of the order has come down because getting set for our next race coming up, which is Sigma 150 Caterham Graduates.